Hello everyone who's tuned in to Sky Betting Gaming's Careers Spotlight. We'll be getting started in the next 30 seconds or so keep yourself tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to Sky Betting and Gaming's Virtual Career Spotlight. I'm sure most of you will already be aware, but for anyone who isn't, we're one of the UK's leading betting and online gaming businesses based out of Yorkshire with offices in Leeds, Sheffield, as well as one in Solihull. Our teams design, build and maintain products such as Sky Bet, Sky Bogus, Sky Poker, Sky Bingo and free-to-play games like Super 6, as well as many others. Our Virtual Career Spotlight series focuses on a different team from across the business each week, and it's your opportunity to hear from our experts. Some initial housekeeping before I introduce today's speakers. We want this to be an interactive session, so we encourage you to ask questions. Towards the end of the session, I'll try and read out as many of these as I can. To ask a question, you'll have to be signed into your YouTube account, and then simply add your question to the comments section. The session will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back at a later date. Today's Spotlight is on our business intelligence team. Joining me, we've got Anna Towers, James Waterhouse, and Andrew Rushgrove. To introduce you to everyone who's listening, it's probably best to start with what you do. Anna, I'll let you get the ball rolling.
Hi, so I'm Anna. I'm the project manager within the BI team. I essentially work with James and Andrew and the management team over the last year, supporting with implementation and bringing the teams together, but also lead on a number of cross BI projects. I've been with the business about 3 years now. That's everything.
Okay. James?
Hiya, so my name is James Waterhouse. I'm head of data and BI, so working for Mr. Rushgrove, who's on the call as well. I have to call him Mr. to be
Sir.
Yeah, I've been with the business coming up to 10 years next year. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a sort of one company man really in some respects. What attracted me to Sky Betting Gaming? I'll be honest, at the time, I just needed a job, so I came to work. I've stuck here ever since, so it must be quite a good place to work.
I like it. And Sir Rushgrove?
Hi guys, hope everyone's well. Andrew Rushgrove, I've been here 4 years with Sky Betting Gaming. I'm currently Director of BI and Data, also looking after the supply management team as well. Joined initially as head of finance. Reason for me joining SBG was twofold. One, location. I was moving back up from London. I worked down there for a number of years with PayPal and Lloyds Banking Group, and wanted to move to a fast-growing tech company really in Leeds. And then the people I met people like Connor at my interviews, who's now become the CEO, and just really convinced me to join. And then thirdly, the amount of data we've got is pretty incredible, and the impact that we can have with it. And it's a pretty good subject matter as well. Yeah, I'm a Newcastle fan for my sins, but it is quite nice to look at data that does interest us as well.
How have we not discussed that? So I'm a Newcastle fan as well. Definitely not the place to be discussing it right now, but it's it's an interesting time for the team, and hopefully we'll get another win tonight.
I think all the Sheffield United fans have just logged off, haven't they?
There's not many though, is there? So how about the rest of the team? What do they do, and what are the objectives? Is that team as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. So talking really about the business intelligence team, and the business intelligence team really at Sky Betting and Gaming is really threefold or three skill sets. I guess we've got kind of the analytics teams, we've got the research team, and we've got data science. And so we've kind of got three things. In terms of how we're structured really over a number of different teams. So we've kind of got a gaming team who look at things like Sky Vegas, Sky Bingo, poker, things like that. Then you've got the bet team who are looking at how the sportsbook is doing. You've got the trading team who are looking at pricing and margin and everything. We've got risk who look at not just kind of fraud and compliance things, but are heavily focused on safer gambling, which is a key kind of focus of the team. We've got research, data science, and then customer nation as well. And customer nation are looking at things like your operational metrics and how payments and CX metrics and things like that. So like I say, we've got the three skill sets of analytics, data science, research, and then across the different teams. We've got about 43 people in the team, a few vacancies that we'll come on to later. And really that's kind of how the spread from various different levels of, we ran a grad program up until this year really. I think unfortunately COVID's put a pay to that. So we've kind of got people coming in from a graduate perspective, and then to kind of more experienced hires as well. In terms of kind of what we're aiming for, our team kind of mantra, our mission, I guess, is to kind of help Sky Betting and Gaming make the right decisions. Is where we're focused on, and for us, that's about how we use the skills of our team, the data available to us, the kind of technology available to us to kind of help drive and make the right decisions, whether that's kind of your marketing team, whether that's safer gambling, whether that's trading, really. We kind of span the breadth of the business. In terms of where we're focused, I guess the team bit is a big focus for us in terms of how do we increase the visibility of our team and the impact of our team. Individually, we're doing quite a lot from a learning development perspective and how we're trying to drive that. Data is a huge one, as we've said. My role now, I look after the data tribe and how we can get data and BI as closely as possible. We're going to be a hell of a lot more powerful as a company and as a team if the more data sources we've got, the higher quality of data we've got. And then delivery is the last one. Is how do we make an impact? How do we know that we're working on the right things? How do we deliver the right things that this business needs to kind of move it forward as well?
Of course, and I suppose thinking of your team as partly being on a journey, which you're going to discuss that journey in more detail today. James, if you're thinking of where the focus was at the start when this team first came together, can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So we at the start had 11 sort of different analytical teams sort of scattered around. So when we made the call to pull those teams together and to centralise, the initial focus was really on, I guess, doing the basics and laying the foundations for success and trying to make a group of people feel like one team. So we spent a fair bit of time talking about sort of the purpose and the mission, as Andrew's alluded to already. So we settled on the help Sky Betting Gaming make the right decisions, and we felt that was kind of generic enough to apply to everybody, but it meant something as well. In particular, making the right decisions. So we use data, and all over the shop, our data analytics help all parts of the business to make decisions, and that's basically making the right decisions is what we're here to do and to help with. We also focused on our sort of values as a team and which values we all believed in and thought were important and wanted to stand behind. So we settled on three key values for the team, which are collaboration, challenge, and then to be concise. So collaboration, we know we need to collaborate internally within our team, with the other team, with the other squads within the team. We also want to collaborate more generally within the business. But then, I guess now as part of a bigger group, we need to collaborate sort of across group as well with guys across Flutter. Challenge, that's all about like asking the difficult questions, not being afraid to do that, and we're trying to sort of instill that in the team. But also, I guess, challenge yourself. So challenge yourself from a learning perspective. And then the concise one, I dare say because it's a C, I added that one in. But that was a primary motivation. No. The point with that one was really that we want to convey information really clearly. We want to get to the point, and we want to make sure that in whatever situations we're in, we're really leaving people with the information they need, but without it being War and Peace. So yeah, that was, I guess, the first thing that we did, the mission and values bit. I guess we looked at sort of one obvious thing that will happen when you've got disparate teams working on similar things but in different areas of the business is that there'll be some overlap, lots of duplication, and potentially sort of lack of consistency in the approach around a lot of that stuff. So we tried to focus on improving our communication, as we said, making that a value, so making sure that we're talking to each other. So if someone's doing some market measurement in one part of the business, they're talking to someone else in another part of the business. We took that on a step further, really, and created a couple of guilds. So I don't know if people are familiar with that concept of the sort of tribe. The business operates to a tribe model, but a guild is kind of a cross-functional group, working group that focuses on some sort of specialism. So we've got an experimentation guild and a market and ROI guild. And the purpose of that was really to make sure that we are being consistent in the way we approach things and we're not duplicating. And then a couple of other things, I guess, to call out. We took learnings from other parts of the business. So our technical, we've got lots of techies at Sky Betting Gaming. They use things like Jira to track what they're doing. So we took a learning from that, so we get better visibility, and also sort of set up a SharePoint so that we've got a central place to put our information.
Right. So just a small amount that's been going on in the background there. Like that. And Anna, in terms of L&D, which Andrew alluded to earlier, I know that there has been more of a focus on that particular area. Can you sort of shine a light on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, James, do you want to give a quick kind of intro on kind of how we approach the L&D stuff, and I can run through some of the detail on them? Yeah.
So I guess we figured that, again, back to that point about the teams being disparate, that we'd lost a bit of focus on learning and development as a group of people. So we realised that was really important and one of the first things that we wanted to focus on. I guess if you develop people, you keep them interested, you keep them learning, then you're much more likely to keep them as colleagues, aren't you? So yeah, we built out what I guess we're loosely termed a sort of BI development program, which covered a number of things. So we'll talk through those, but sort of skills matrix, L&D time, rotational program, ninja fun, graph of the week, spotlight talks and storytelling. So I guess Anna and I can talk about those a little bit. So the skills matrix, what we did is we basically set up a framework it's like a self-assessment framework we call skills matrix. So basically we asked members of the team to outline the skills that they're good at, the skills that they're maybe not so good at, and sort of rank themselves. And we did that across the group, and that helped us to identify, I guess, where the development needs were, but then also where the sort of this specialist skills were and the experts that we had in the team. And we used that mechanism to help us, I guess, internally. So we said, right, we've got someone who's an expert in art, or we've got someone who's an expert in Oz that's very good at presenting. Let's make use of that and get them to help the other members of the team that might need to develop in that area. So and those guys became the champions basically. And that's the premise of the skills matrix, something that we keep a track of, and every 6 to 12 months we do the same process basically, see how we're improving. L&D time, so that's a big thing. Again, back to the sort of the technical teams in the business. There's a big focus on learning and development in the technical teams, but we felt that that's something that we maybe could spend more time on. So we try and of late we've been really trying to push that. We're trying to enforce that 10% of working time is on learning and development. Now we're not quite achieving that in certain squads, but that's the bar we want to try and hit. So again, employing Jira and being able to track classes of service has helped us to monitor how much learning and development the teams are doing, and to keep an eye on that and try and push for more. Rotational program. So the idea there was, this is something Andrew's really big on. I don't know if Andrew, you want to chip in on rotational program?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this is it's just something I'm kind of trying to drive. It's something we did in finance to good success in terms of some of our finance analysts and senior analysts would rotate around the different teams. So you might move from the bet finance team to the gaming finance team, and the overwhelming feedback from that was from an individual was really good, and from the teams as well, in terms of how well they develop, how well they learn, and those individuals who've rotated, are starting to really kind of progress through the organisation. So we're trying to bring something in Q1 from a BI perspective. So again, trying to put the same fundamentals in place of, like, if I'm a bet BI analyst, I shouldn't just be looking kind of up of a direction from a career progression. I should know that I can actually move to gaming, I can move to risk or CN or data science, wherever, to kind of develop. And so we're wanting to create a program that allows our teams to move seamlessly. Because it comes with some issues in terms of people are quite defensive about, like, people in their team if they're really good, and that's fine. But we're kind of being quite strong around this is the best for the individual to move between teams, and therefore kind of backing this quite strongly.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
and I think you were going to. Sorry, come.
Jumped in there. So yeah, a couple of the things that we have as part of the development program. So the Ninja Learning Fund. So this is an initiative within the business where each colleague gets £1,000 a year to spend on training and development that they choose. A lot of this within the team has been spent on attending such as conferences. I know a number of them have done training courses in such as R or SQL, or maybe buying licenses for kind of products that they're using within their jobs or want to kind of develop it. And then we have a kind of booster within that if they then come back to the business and then share that learning with the rest of the team, they can then get kind of an enhanced amount of money that they can spend on their training and development. So that's something that kind of the team are really engaged with, and we kind of definitely do push for everyone to use. Graph of the week. So this is a competition that we run every Friday. All honesty, it's probably a bit more of a kind of fun thing for the team to engage in, and the winner each week wins a prize. But it kind of has given a real opportunity for the teams to kind of share techniques, new ways of kind of data, kind of displaying techniques to use, and kind of ways of working within the team. So that's kind of been a great thing we've had running for probably 6 months or more now, probably 9 months.
Yeah,
and then
it's got its own hashtag. It's featured on Twitter, and it goes to we often send it to our exec team as well, in terms of just to give them a flavour of some of the graphs. It might sound like the geekiest competition in the world, the graph of the week.
I was wondering if that's how I heard it. So graph of the week.
Yeah, GOTW. But it's got quite a big following. A number of people have wanted to join the Slack channel that we do that in now. So I'm more than happy to add you to it.
Please do. I don't know what graphs I can offer, but I'll try and I'll try and get in there.
Even I've entered one, so anyone can try.
Win a fiver as well out of Andrew's own pocket.
Yeah,
there you go. When he we'll get hold of them, basically.
Yeah, you try and get a hold of £5 notes in Leeds City Centre. No chance. No.
They're done out there, aren't they? And was there anything else to add to that, Anna?
Yeah, just last couple of bits. So Spotlight Talks is something we kicked off at the beginning of the year. So essentially they're fortnightly talks that the team get the opportunity to present their work or piece of work to the rest of the team. This kind of is essentially just really for BI to attend. However, there has been kind of quite a bit of interest across the business, especially in certain areas. So we do have a number of kind of places that we can give out each time to the business. But again, as a kind of development point of view, it's been a really good opportunity for the team to kind of have the opportunity to present work, get kind of peer feedback, and kind of have that dry run of presenting in a kind of safe team environment before it's kind of presented to the business. Because again, as part of the skills matrix, presenting was definitely something that the team wanted to work on. And then linked to that is kind of data storytelling. So this is obviously an essential part of the kind of the team, and something we're really wanting to push going forward. So the teams work with such kind of complex data sets, and the problems that they're kind of looking at are incredibly complex. And kind of how you then kind of take that analysis and put it into a way that kind of you can then easily and present to the business in a way that's kind of really digestible and kind of understand is absolutely not an easy task. And so it's something that kind of the team have been working on. We're looking pre-COVID at some kind of external training, but we've also utilised our internal kind of creative and copywriting team to kind of support there, and how we can kind of really put together a program of work around how best to kind of storytell, templates to use, what to focus on, that sort of thing.
Okay. Again, there's an awful lot of work going on in the background there, isn't there? And I suppose when you reflect more on sort of business as usual, although that's a term that is a difficult one to use at the moment, James, but how do you strike the balance between proactive and reactive projects and work?
It's a good question. It's pretty difficult, I guess, in some respects. In such a fast-paced business, there's always going to be sort of ad hoc questions asked, or there'll be a new initiative or an idea or a session, and there's lots of questions or asks on the BI team that come out of that. A lot of the time, then that can lead to lots of sort of reactive BAU types of work. I think bringing Jira in and tracking the types of work we're doing has been, or is and will be, important going forward. We've defined class of service, so again, sort of stealing techniques from the technical team. So we can break down by squad the percentage of work by type. So whether it's a BAU like data request, or whether it's a proactive project, that sort of thing. And just really try and make sure that we're enforcing the amount of time we're spending on that stuff and on the proactive stuff. I guess the more proactive you are, the easier it gets eventually, because the other stakeholders that you're working with start to talk about your projects and start to make use of your projects, and then the work that comes back is all relating to your proactive work. But the focus on projects has been something that we've tried to do. Again, to try and I guess encourage that sort of collaboration across the BI team as a whole, and to pull out a little bit from going, you might have an instance where you're working on a specific piece of work within BET, but actually that'll be very relevant for the gaming team as well. So focusing that into projects is the way that we've kind of done that, coupled with tracking the split of work and how we're doing that.
Okay. And Anna, I suppose, have you got anything additional to add to that in terms of how, in reality, you are getting those teams to work together to deliver on these important projects?
Yeah, this has been something that we've been working on for probably about 10, 11 months now, and it definitely it's been a challenge to kind of get to that point. Like carrying on from what James has said there, it was 11 very different teams that worked kind of to their own kind of priority list. And one of the first things we kind of do there was pull together visibility, kind of get the management team in one room and kind of actually pull together a list of what we actually working on. I think when we kicked it off, there was probably 50 projects on that list, which obviously, whilst the team's decent size, that was kind of a huge number to kind of looking at. And that was a real way that we kind of could provide that visibility to the team, kind of like, we need to kind of be more aligned on this, and we kind of need to make sure we're focusing our attention in the right place and making sure we are prioritizing the right thing. And it kind of gave us that ability to, whilst we still absolutely kind of prioritize on a team by team basis, kind of take a step back and prioritize as a BI kind of squad on what do we need to focus on kind of over the next 6 to 12 months for the business to deliver. And like James said, making sure there wasn't duplicate work going on in different areas, and kind of identify those opportunities for collaboration. It then meant that kind of as a team, it enables you to work more as a cross team. If we need to move resource around to support on certain projects, we absolutely can do that. As James touched on earlier, we've got the guilds in a couple of areas of the business. So, for example, there's marketing, analytics. So each area of the team has different people who work on marketing analytics, but how do we pull them together as one team to make sure kind of, whilst they don't sit together, they're aligned on kind of everything they're doing? And then kind of taking a step back from the business, kind of from the team, kind of we can, all well and good, kind of then having that as an aligned focus in the team, make sure the wider team are aware of that, then make sure we can kind of really engage with the stakeholders and get them across kind of, this is what we're prioritising, what we're working on, and making sure again that they're aligned on it. And having that approach, definitely kind of, you feel more joined up. It's enabled us to kind of talk, and people kind of have more of an understanding of the kind of cross-working of BI, and we can be more committed and something we're still driving is more committed on kind of what's our roadmap, what are we delivering, and kind of see the amount that kind of is coming out of BI, because obviously previously they have very little exposure to kind of the full teams. So kind of now we have ability to kind of say, this is what BI is delivering across the business, has definitely been a huge step forward with us with that.
And it's something like go on, James.
No, I was just going to say the point there around making sure people are aware and earlier on around the business is really important. And that, I think that's one thing that the focus on projects has helped. helped us to do. So we're able to, we're teeing things up sooner, we're telling people about it, and they've got more time to be prepared for when the output comes. I mean, you could have, the best project in the world, but if no one makes use of it, then it's pointless doing it, isn't it? So I think that earlier engagement piece is really important.
I think as well from that is, as we said, it's the data points that we can get from this as well. We've got a really good example at the moment where Anna's leading a project around churn, and how can we look at customer churn and how can we improve that, and then you could have done that in a very siloed way. You could have got, say, data science, for example, to build a model on that, but instead of doing that, we've gone, okay, well, actually research have got a huge amount of powerful information on why customers churn. We've got then this on-site behavioural data that is showing us when customers are churning at certain points of the journey. You've then got the data science power of the modelling, and then actually we need to then present that back to stakeholders so it makes sense. So then you've got the analytics guys feeding in and going, okay, well, the life cycle models look like this, the reporting looks like this. So again, in the old world, I think we'd have probably looked at that in a very siloed way. Now we can approach a subject like churn that hits across the full breadth of the business and use the skills of the different teams and the different data coming in to get to a more aligned, better, more accurate, actionable result.
And how do you initiate that, for example? So say, for example, if the topic is churn, where is the starting point, and how do you reach out to those initial stakeholders in the first place? Is there a structure in place that sort of allows you to know that you need to speak to person A, B, C, D, and E?
I think it goes a few ways. So something like churn, you'd have someone in the business like a CRM, for example, championing something like that, or we might, from a BI perspective, go, look, we're not good enough at understanding and reporting on churn, so therefore drive that. We then, from a churn perspective, as the example, we had a kickoff session with the lead data scientist who was looking at that. We all fed into, okay, well, what about this angle? What about this data? We then have, that's from a BI engagement perspective. We then have a session around the wider business engagement. So, okay, CRM, you can benefit from this, as could marketing, as could, we could use this on site. Potentially, we could use this in risk. We could use this in CX. And so, for example, Anna, I guess you've run a few sessions like that recently, haven't you, in terms of how do we know what we're going to produce and how can other areas of business use it?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like, say, it can often come from one area, but they will think in silos in their areas of how they need it. And it's kind of how we can take that and utilising the kind of network of our key stakeholders and key kind of people who understand data and BI kind of within each of the tribes, and kind of and get their use cases for it. So should we be building this? How would you utilise it? And making sure right from the offset we've got that clear view of all the different kind of requirements, and then as we're going, again, communicating, make sure we've got the right people in the right rooms at the right time, to then, and like James saying, teeing everything up so that when it lands, it actually then kind of lands with success, rather than it being something that one team uses but it doesn't across the business. And I think the business as a whole are definitely getting better at kind of working together and not just doing something for one area, kind of how we kind of look out to other areas and kind of take from that, replicate what they're doing and utilise it.
Yeah, I think that's it. If you're looking at where we need to improve, that's where we need to improve in terms of lining it all up, and so that we utilise to the best of our ability something that whether it's a model we've built, whether it's a report we've done, we need to. That's where we're kind of our next journey to great is how do we line all that up really.
I think that's something that's really attractive within the business, but also externally as well. That idea that we're already doing things well, but we still want to be better. Time to show off a tiny little bit here, and it may be that we've done enough talking about churn. But can you tell us a little bit more about any other particular projects, unless we're giving too much away, that have been really successful in the past? Don't say no.
No, it's all a secret. No, I'll talk a little bit about one that we've got going at the moment called Customer DNA. So, as Anna's talked about, or as we've just talked about, we kicked off a project around segmentation probably 6 months or so ago with various different stakeholders, and we did some workshops to kind of discuss current segmentation of the customer base, how we were making use of that, what was missing from it, what we would do if we made some improvements to it, and that sort of thing. And we basically quite quickly came to the conclusion that there's no one-size-fits-all segmentation for the customer base. So we thought long and hard about it, and we changed the scope of the project a little bit. So we ended up realizing that there were two things that we needed to focus on. So being very consistent in the way that we, with our definitions and the way that we describe the customers. So if we are talking about a very specific metric in one part of the business, we should be that definition and that description should be exactly the same in another part of the business. And then also having all that data and information available in one place. So they were the sort of two things that we figured were really important and that we weren't doing. So we landed on this idea of customer DNA, which is, I guess, in summary, just like a really clear, well-defined, descriptive data set about the customer base that is available for multiple different purposes, essentially. And we keep adding to that, and we're building out different use cases that make use of it. And every week there's something new where someone will say, "Oh, could we use customer DNA for that?" Yeah, we could. So so that's pretty cool. There's been a lot of work with the data science have worked heavily on that, but also starting to talk with the data tribe more generally about where can we take that data and put it where it'll be useful, and then also working with like other parts of the business to leverage that data and that use of it essentially. But that's customer DNA.
Yeah, I guess an example, Alex, would be, so for example, part of James's DNA might be favourite sport, rugby league, or something like that. Mine might be favourite sport, soccer. I might be a high risk customer, he might be low risk. His preferred contact channel might be X, might be Y. And so it's that kind of level of granularity, like James says, down to a really keenly defined cross-business view, and that the teams can then interact with however they want, so that CRM can go, okay, well, I want to target this type of customer, or risk might say, I want to look at these type of customers, and you can almost pick I always call it building blocks, but it is DNA of the customer to then target them accordingly.
This is fascinating, I genuinely have got so many more questions, but we are only capped for an hour.
Well, we do have a vacancy, Alex, if you want to.
There we go. My boss might be watching, and also I haven't shown you any of my graphs yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. On the questions, though, we sort of got a couple more things that we definitely could discuss, but we do have a fairly quiet audience at the moment. So I've spotted one question so far. If anyone else does have any other questions, I just urge you to, if you sign into your YouTube account, just add the question on the right-hand side. But like I said, we've got a couple more bits that we could still discuss. I'll go over to you, Andrew, on the next one. So we are on that journey, in your words, from going from good to great. What are we most looking forward to over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot, to be honest. There's a lot in terms of, like, we looked at it and thought, right, 2019 was kind of laying the foundations, as James has said, really, and Anna have said, in terms of all that kind of hard work to get the kind of projects kick off, get the L&D and everything like that. One of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to seeing, like, how the team develops and how they kind of grow. We have put quite a lot of L&D structure around things and trying to push the time. So you see in Graph of the Week, I'll go back to that. You look at Graph of the Week from like mid 2019 to now, and it is night and day. The technical ability of the team has increased, substantially, and we're just seeing the way that they're able to now influence more stakeholders and use that data, and that's only going to get bigger and better. I think that's going to be huge. I think quite a lot of it, we've got to look at Flutter. So Flutter, Betfair, obviously we're now part of a wider group. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been meeting a number of our new colleagues. All seem really very similar to Sky Bet. The culture, it feels, seem really switched on, seem to have the same issues with us. I'm going to learn a huge amount from those guys. We're going to learn, how they look at marketing, what models they're using. So there's a huge kind of learning view to us as we go forward. I think data, we need to look at like how we get close to the data tribe and how we work further together, and how we kind of, like I say, increase the availability and quality of our data, and making that easier to access from a BI perspective and across the business. Like we want full self-serve across SBG. We don't want everyone to be coming to the BI teams. We want to give people access at their fingertips. And at the moment, we're not there, but it's a journey that we want to get to. I think as well, like the techniques. Like I'll call out some of the research team here in terms of we've got quite a number of members of research team who are incredibly driven to push their development and the team's development, and they're just looking at some pretty cutting edge techniques, really. Stuff that, being honest, goes over my head at the moment, but I'm trying to learn in terms of what they're going to bring to the team. And we've got a really good team there, but the things that they're trying to then drive and the different techniques that they're looking at, brilliant. And we've got the ability. The brilliant thing I think we've got with the team is we've got the ability to allow them to think about that and allow them to then bring that into the team and drive that. I think a lot of mine is where the team's going to develop. The more data that we get, the better. How can we learn from athletic counterparts, and how can we kind of challenge ourselves from a techniques and the storytelling, as Anna said previously. I think. What about you, James? Have you got? You'll have a few.
I think you've kind of covered it there, really, to be honest. Yeah, and it's the seeing the team develop and seeing. I mean, Graph of the Week's a good example as to where at the start some of the graphs are quite basic, and then you start to see people collaborating on graphs, which is great. Then you start to see people using more advanced techniques to produce their graphs or the visualizations. So I guess just seeing that continue and seeing the teams work together and just skills improve in general, as you've touched upon. I guess we are starting to look at our data platform and looking at a few avenues there, which are really exciting. Mean big changes and lots of additional capability for the BI teams. So I think that's really, really exciting over the next 12 to 18 months as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing we touched on as well is that how all the teams are working together and the different data working together. We've got something going on at the moment which is named SG Supercharge, and it's Safer Gambling Supercharge. And really, it's just to kind of really focus in on this. It's a topic that we've looked at for years, but we're looking more and more, definitely during the COVID period, where behaviours are changing, and therefore how can we adapt to that, and how can we make sure we're identifying potential problem areas or markers of harm. I guess what we're seeing the different teams coming together, the research, data science, analytics teams with the different data sources, whether that's being behavioural or transactional, to kind of help in that area and really protect our customers. And I think that's something that is a major focus as we've got and will continue to be. But again, that's the whole thing about the more data points we get, the better we'll become at this kind of things.
Thanks for that. And we've been dangling the carrot throughout this talk so far that there are a couple of vacancies. I think it's only fair that we tell you a little bit about them. James, do you want to share some info on them?
Yeah, I'll just be really brief. We've got a senior analyst role that's in gaming, that's pretty exciting, and also a head of BI role. So that's more of a sort of leadership team leadership management role within BI. I won't go into much detail, I guess, but if you want to chat about them, please give us a shout on LinkedIn, or give the guys a shout, or visit the career site where the JDs will be. Yeah, pretty exciting. But I'm sure in the next 12 to 18 months, if we play the plan right and get there, there'll be many more vacancies, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's it. And just a word on that to anyone who is watching, who's considering potentially looking at joining the business at some point in the future. Join our talent community, which you'll find on the career site as well. And that way you'll always sort of be kept in the loop with any vacancies that do come up as part of this immaculate 12 to 18 month plan. So in terms of questions, they are slowly coming through now, so we'll work through them one by one. We've got one from Lee Sheard here. What do you believe to be the one main benefit of having various analytical teams under one roof, and that roof being business intelligence? Appreciate we may have touched on this, but for anyone who's joining late, so what do we believe to be the one main benefit of having various analytical teams under one roof? Whoever wants to answer.
I'll go with the usage of our data in terms of how that can get used across the full breadth of the team and the skill sets and that by that I mean the research data can append to the transactional data, can append to the behavioural data. I think they sit in different teams. The more that we kind of put that across the different teams, the more powerful we're going to be. Okay,
and then the other question that we've got, like I said, we are relatively light. We've got one from Scott Clay. Do you see the lines between different roles, analysts, scientists, engineers, getting increasingly blurry going forward as individual skills diversify? Is this something that you'd welcome?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. Hi, Scott. Yeah, I guess I guess in some respects, I do. I guess as we talked about that skills matrix and focusing on sort of development and upskilling people in various different areas, you're going to find that the lines blur because people are more able to do things themselves. But I guess that said, you're always going to need an element of specialism and domain expertise in whatever the team is that you're working in. So I do see the lines blurring a bit, but there's always going to be specialism. I guess the things like the rotational program and the skills matrix are all kind of working towards a blurring of lines. But as we scale and get bigger and we put more resource and BI becomes more and more important, and I guess you would eventually move to a model of like specialism, wouldn't you? So bit of a yes and no answer there, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so we've had another one come through. What's the view on applying traditional UX design techniques to data and BI reports? Is this something that will become more important in the future, and might it become a role in the tribe? That's from Darryl Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the best I can. In terms of from a UX perspective, currently the UX and design team and not within BI, they're in the product team, and therefore they're not under the same roof. There is a lot of collaboration going on. The research team, like I say, moved into the BI team probably at the back end of 2019, and a big focus for them definitely the last 3 months has been to work really closely with the UXD team. Interestingly, again, from that point we made around the research techniques, that's what we're seeing some crossover there in terms of, there's a technique around watching customers and where a customer's eyes moves around a page. Again, who looks at the research or UXD, and so there's quite a lot of crossover and a lot of collaboration going.
Maybe
hopefully that answers the question.
The experimentation guild as well that we talked about a little bit. I guess if you're designing and testing, and figuring what works and what doesn't, need a robust model to be able to do that, and some of the expertise that we've got in data science and other teams around the business working in that guild has really made a difference, I think, to the way that we're approaching that testing and making sure that it's really rigorous and we get to a good answer quickly that we can get behind.
Brilliant. Hopefully that answers that one. And then we've got one more question. I'm not techie enough to know whether or not this is sort of the right place for it at all, but it's around data warehouses. So have you designed your data warehouse, and have you got all the data that you require? Or is it something that's sort of, are you working towards that? Like I said, I'm not sure if that's the right place for this call.
I guess I can answer that in some respects. We've got so much data around the business. We don't have it all currently in one place, so that's something that's a big focus certainly within the data tribe, but also I guess within BI, because a lot of the time our sort of first line consumers of data tribe data are the BI team, and they're the guys that are familiar with both what the business is trying to do, but then also with the data, so they're the like bridge between, and they're the ones that are going to be able to sort of realise the use cases, the value of that data. So, we're starting to pull things like the on-site data sets into the warehouse so they're in one place. I guess the key to be able to do a real joined up job of any type of analytics is having all that data in one place that you need. But I'd say we're only part way on that journey to getting all that data in one place, and tooling can help us with that.
Okay, good question then, and solid answer, I think. So that sort of draws this to a close. We will keep this up on the YouTube channel, the Sky Betting and Gaming YouTube channel, so you will be able to play it back or share it with colleagues or friends or anyone that you think may be interested in us as a business in the future. As it is roasting, and I think we're all in greenhouses right now, we will definitely end it there. Thank you very much for attending. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks.